So I'm giving here in this video two international examples from international trials, both in Hague, and both of them has to do, one is Milosevic trial from this documentary, the Milosevic case glosses at the trial. I think it's a Dutch documentary. It was filmed, I think, in the middle of actually right before Milosevic started his defense. And the second one is from the production called Insider. This is also documentary. It is called State Secret. So they are pro-Western media, Insider. And I think that they're part of that TV network or news network that is related to David Petraeus, that humiliated general. I think he was the director of CIA, and he was humiliated because of the relationship with Paula Broadwell. It was a huge, huge scandal. I remember the title about him stating from hero to zero. As far as I understood, he was, I will of course create a separate video on that, but as far as I understood, he was a major architect of the whole operation in Iraq. So he's what's the right word? High roller. Okay, so again, this is pro-Western media. And I will give in this video two examples why international institutions, trial in international institutions, are way higher priority, has way higher priority than state trial. And I'm giving this as an example because all the state institutions, so the most importantly police, then courts up to Supreme Court of Cassation, and of course all the state prosecution offices up to highest instances, because all of them are involved. They are simply ignoring the fact that Interpol is involved because Interpol ignored me. I have a separate video on that, so I'm going to details, and now I'm going to show how to get to that directory folder on G Drive, which shows that they're ignoring me. And I created a video. I will add the link to this video. I created a video proving that all those institutions had a link to G Drive. They're just pretending they don't know how to use G Drive, which is really lame. All of them had access to that folder, which has a subfolder called Interpol, where tweets proving that Interpol is involved since July, beginning of July 2019. So Interpol ignored my tweets because I wasn't able to contact them by phone. They hung up on me, and using email they just ignore me. So they are avoiding to even mention that there is anything on G Drive. Only notary mentioned because she's basically, this is a private party, and the prosecution office notary reported me. It was a complete fraud. Everything was false. All the accusations were false. So that notary gave this link to G Drive, but prosecutor, or maybe it was actually it was state. It was deputy prosecutor, haven't mentioned that. So in the crime report she filed against me, that notary, there is mention of I mean that address, this address is explicitly stated there, but even notary haven't mentioned what is there. She only said there are a lot of material there, which is rubbish. But state prosecutors and all the other state institutions are avoiding to mention that at every cost, every possible cost. So this means, and I will need to create separate video. So those people are just started again. The noise they finished when I finished the video, the previous video, and when I now started new video, they started again. Let me see if I can close the window. I cannot do anything about that, so I will just speak in a louder voice. So where was I? Okay, so none of them are mentioning that, and again, this is a clear indicator that their masters, I misspelled masters, I sometimes said masters, I don't know if it will be properly translated by auto-translated, because this is really important to be translated. It's really important the translation is correct, because then it can be simply used auto-translate to some other language, so people all the other nationalities, so nationalities quoted, can understand what I'm talking about. So this clearly means the fact that none of those state institutions, the most important state institutions, of Serbia, of course, won't mention. They won't even mention. They pretend the whole folder. This is a huge folder. I will show right now. This is a free access. This is why I don't have. I'm not signed in. So free access, there is a lot of data here, and let's see. I can show actually. Yeah, here it is. This is folder for related to High Council of Judiciary or High Judicial Council, which are the people who basically decides on suggested which judges should be elected and which should be removed, etc. So the one of the most important body of the state, and there are a lot of subdirectories, and I will just show here just a second. Yeah, so there are two important subdirectories. So first is that notary report of notary. So it's a private party, it's a private firm, but she's doing the job of some parts, of course, the job of the court. So it means it's really important. So she's reporting me, Bojana Babic. I will create a separate video on this. So this is the first page out of 5 pages. 13th of September 2019. So she falsified the whole crime report. She reported me directly to elementary state prosecution office in Smederevo, Serbia. So again, I will go into details when I create video about her. I'm just now showing that she mentioned that folder. of course without mentioning what's really there. She just said it's something that that has to do with state institutions, but she didn't see that Interpol folder, and in another video I proved that she had so here's the link. She had the link that Interpol folder was present on 10th of September 2019. So so this is the folder. She didn't say it's on G drive. So she mentioned that here, so this is the other things are not that important. So she said here, in this email from 10th of September 2019, there is a directory with a lot of, so this is sort of a informal term, a lot of documentations, but she didn't mention there is a Interpol folder, which is again international offense, international crime. And let's see what happened. So then she goes on with other accusations and so on and so on. But let's see the answer of the state deputy prosecutor Savovic, and what is really amazing about her. So she actually answered to my counter crime report on her false crime report, on notary's false crime report, and let's see who she is. So this is notification what she decided. Bojana Savovic. Okay, so this is higher instance of prosecution in Belgrade, special unit for eradication of corruption. Imagine that. So for eradication, special unit for eradication of corruption, and they're working for criminals, because this notary is criminal, and she's involved, she was a lover of the guy who is involved in international arms trade. So this arms trade, illegal arms trade, is a huge scandal in Serbia, and it was going on it was happening from 2002, so 20 years now. And of course, as I showed in the other videos, I informed DOJ that their top of their government is actually organizing that, and it just originates in Serbia, but the top of their government is was organized that, and they're doing nothing. So US Department of Justice, Attorney General Garland, and Senate, and I proved in other videos on my channel, YouTube channel, that they received and they're aware of the existence of that email, and I of course created a video of that email and posted everything on their official DOJ official United States Department of Justice official Twitter account. So let's see if this deputy prosecutor Bojana Savovic mentioned that directory. This is very slow, I don't know for what reason. So no mention at all. There is no link here. And this is the same story with all the other state institutions, meaning that their masters, the pieces of shit from foreign embassies, Western European embassies, and Western European embassies, actually there is the governments, their governments that are directly controlling them are preventing them to do that. They will be really mad if they mention that. So no, they maybe mentioned that here. I really don't want to spend more time on this, but there is no link. And the other folder related to this matter is just a second, should be it should be, yeah, here it is. So rejected this is the envelope. So this is rejected crime report of the notary, and the previous one was rejected counter crime report that I filed. So special unit for anti-corruption rejected my crime report. All the, I mean, this notary invented everything. So none of these accusations are true. So let's see if that directory, that is the address, is mentioned here. And what is important here, this is not the decision of deputy prosecutor, but of the prosecutor of elementary, osnovno means elementary, state prosecution in Smederevo, Serbia. This is the area where my sort of capital, Smederevo, the city where my father lived. It's called Podunavlje, which means the area around Danube. So no, what's this? No address to G drive. They simply avoid that. They maybe mention the directory, but it means nothing. The address means should be there. None of them again mentioned Interpol. And what I missed here is that I will need to upload. So these are pictures. You cannot copy. I mean, you can use some software for recognizing the. That will be really hard to do for recognizing the characters, but I will upload all the related where possible. I don't know if here would be possible, because I just I haven't received that as a document in E4 electronic format. I just recorded this. I just photographed this. Okay, so, and obviously here is also there's no address to G drive here as well. And what is important here, that the prosecutor was deciding on that, which is not her job. So prosecutor of elementary state prosecution office in Smederevo. Her name is Dragana Popovic. So this is Ch, it's a C with slash diacritical sign over it. What's this? Nothing. So I give two examples where someone who is involved in the proceedings, who initiated the proceedings, mentioned this address, but the prosecutors and deputy prosecutor and the prosecutor avoided to mention that. And again, I explained because their masters, the pieces of shit from foreign, mostly Western and Western European countries, don't want to be exposed. Okay, so and of course, if they mention that, they will need, according to international laws, to forward everything immediately. So this is the keyword, immediately, to international institutions. I mean, I did that already, so I really don't care if they're going to do that, and all the conditions are fulfilled for me to take, and this is what I'm doing, to act as a state attorney, which is what I'm doing. So now I'm going to give two examples, as I said, why the international institutions are above state institutions, and the things that are doing the state institutions of Serbia, and not just state. There are some private firms like journalists and so on. The things that they are doing is international crime. Okay, so I will go with first, which I mentioned. It's a Dutch documentary. I will just play it. Some parts are in English, and some that's not in English has the closed captions. So I won't need to comment on anything. It would be enough. So there will be at the beginning. So this guy is at the beginning. There will be some introductory to what's going on, to what this is all about. So it will come to witness K2, which was a witness to Milosevic trial. Slobodan Milosevic, ex-president of Yugoslavia, and I don't know if he was the president of Serbia. Anyways, so that K2 witness was involved in some serious crimes in Serbia, and Serbia asked for his deportation, but Hague said that court of Hague said that he's a life protected witness. And of course, I am the witness of international organized crime because Interpol is involved. So this is the reason why they weren't able to blackmail me. They wanted to blackmail me with that crime report by that criminal notary. And when I stated that I'm a witness of international organized crime, they cannot do that. They gave up. Okay, so a brief introduction. So this guy was Milosevic Ignatovic, was Milosevic's attorney in Hague, I think, and he was murdered. Nobody knows what happened, really. He was murdered in the front of his son, I think. Let me see if there is an article. No, it's not that. him. No, it's not him. Well, I don't have time to look for the article, but this guy was murdered, and the whole segment will start with him, and it will end with that request, the facts about that request by Serbia to give Serbian courts and prosecution that K2 witness. And of course, as I said, the Hague said he's a life protected witness. Okay, so let's play it.
As a matter of fact, we have public sessions as exception. Now, in this moment, we have that kind of situation. Instead of, public sessions as a principle and the closed session as exception. We have changed situation, contra situation. We have closed trial with some moments of public trial. Who is going to do control of that trial?
Het is 9 januari 2003. Beschermde getuige K2 is bij een speciale politieeenheid geweest. Hij zegt onder direct gezag van Milosevic misdaden te hebben gepleegd in Kroatië en Bosnië. Dan begint Milosevic met het kruisverhoor.
Na drugoj strani vaše izjave zahtevate da se preduzmu sve potrebne mere radi zaštite vašeg identiteta.
Da.
Pošto kažete da ste tada, da vam je život u velikoj opasnosti verovali, je li tako?
Da.
A da li i danas mislite da vam je život ugrožen i da je u velikoj opasnosti? Da je, s obzirom od trenutka te vaše izjave, prošlo gotovo 2,5 godine.
Da.
Znači i sad vam je život u opasnosti, posle 2,5 godine.
Ja tako smatram.
Da. A dobro, recite mi, da li je razlog zbog koga mislite da vam je život u opasnosti ta vaša izjava istražiteljima ili činjenica da vas neki povezuju sa ubistvom ovog Željka Ražnjatovića Arkana? Iz kog razloga vam je život u opasnosti?
Sada iz oba razloga.
Molim?
Your Honour, I'm not sure that the questioning may not itself be a subtle way of seeking to identify the witness publicly. And we must proceed with very greatest caution.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Milosevic.
Nisam čuo vaš odgovor.
Da.
Znači zbog toga što ste umešani Arkonovu ubistvo, je li tako?
Da.
Znači to je glavni razlog zbog koga ne živite u Srbiji i što krijete svoj identitet, je li tako?
Da.
Vi danas živite na području Republike Srpske, je li tako?
Časni sude, ja ovo pitanje ne mogu da odgovorim.
Dobro. A da li ste zaposleni?
Časni sude, ja sam interes da li mogu da odgovorim na ovo pitanje.
razumem zašto ne bi mogao da odgovori, ja pitam samo da li je zaposlen.
If you want to pursue this, Mr. Milosevic, we must go into private session. You want to pursue it or not?
Sada želim da nastavim, gospodine May.
No. Let us go into private session.
K2 geeft toe betrokken te zijn bij de moord op Arkan, een beruchte figuur uit de Servische onderwereld. Dat is natuurlijk van belang voor Servië. En het gerechtshof in Belgrado heeft dan ook onmiddellijk aangevraagd bij het tribunaal om deze getuige te mogen verhoren. Op 3 maart 2003 luidt het antwoord: K2 is levenslang beschermde getuige en kan derhalve niet worden verhoord door een ander gerechtshof.
Secret witnesses, protected witnesses and closed sessions seem to be a way to get Mr. Milosevic convicted, but it certainly does not express the interests of justice, and it does not speak for the need of people to see openly what happened.
Future,
Or even political assessment.
someday in the future, some lawyers, some scientists, they're going to work on that trial. I'm asking myself, what are they going to find in the trial, especially when we are talking about the closed sessions. I'm not allowed to talk about context of closed sessions because it's confidential and blah blah blah. But if you exclude the public as a control of some trial, then you are putting whole trial under the question mark. What are they doing? What are we doing in a courtroom? What's that? What's not for world or European public opinion? What do we want to hide?
Okay, so I forgot to enable the sound. I needed to disable it to avoid feedback. I know there is a way to do this automatically, but I prefer to do this way. So what I said is that the important fact to mention about the Hague Hague Tribunal is that it's illegal. It's a proven fact that it's illegal, and I will create a special video on this. As far as I know, that court is under jurisdiction of United Nations, and United Nations is a private company. It's a private company. This is also a very well-known fact. So if you add to all those facts the fact that the countries which were supporting the court in Hague for former Yugoslavia, if you consider that all those countries are deeply involved in Epstein scandal, the worst scandal to hit the humankind, the earth, so 30 years maintaining child sex trafficking ring. All the governments knew, all the governments, including United States government, federal government, then governments of European elite European Union countries, all of them knew because their intelligence knew all about that. And as Ari Ben Menashe said, it was not just Mossad that was involved, it was military intelligence. So Israel military intelligence. So Ari Ben Menashe said, for people who don't know, you can just search his name on internet. He said that on RT, in RT interview. So Ari Ben Menashe, RT interview. It's here. So in this interview can be heard that this is the guy. He was convicted in the United States for working for Mossad against United States, and he said in this interview that Israel military intelligence was involved in Epstein operation, sex trafficking, child sex trafficking ring operation. So this is the reason why this moron and piece of shit Jean-Luc Brunel had the Israel army hat when photographed with Ghislaine, that also moron and mediocre on pedophile island. Those are no infamous pictures. So those countries which are deeply involved in the war scandal are the ones who think can talk about justice, international justice. This is ridiculous. So this proves that all those countries and their governments and their politicians are nothing but pieces of shit, morons and idiots. And I would just like to see if YouTube will have the guts to remove now this video when DOJ is involved. So United States Department of Justice is involved. As I said in previous video, so they're just web developers. If you really want to insult some serious engineer, I mean engineer in general, you just tell that guy, that or girl, or woman, or man, that you just tell that engineer that he's a web developer. This is the worst insult. So they're web developers. All those guys from YouTube, from Facebook, Twitter, and so on, they're just simply too overrated. It's nothing. It's not mission critical systems, programs, applications, stuff like that. Although they have some advanced features, but it's not that advanced as they present it to be. I give examples in other videos, in description of other videos related to YouTube, their community guidelines, which I proved that are completely illegal. and I recommend again YouTube to watch that video that I created. I will upload it with this video on tax evasion by major social networks, including of course YouTube. Okay, so this video is in Serbian, so from time to time I will need to stop and to live translate it, because I don't know if I will have time to add closed captions here. So this is basically what this is all about, is about the murder of Zoran Đinđić in 2003. He was a Serbian prime minister, but he was actually agent of German. He was a German asset. I'm not trying to remember what's the name of their intelligence. I cannot remember now. Okay, anyways, so I will try to find one video about him. I think that this is the video.
Osvežite svoj dom.
Okay.
Every day you...
Let's see how many.
Pre intervjua ste mi pomenuli...
Okay, so this is an interview with a guy named Duci Simonovic. He is a PhD in philosophy and has MSc in law science. I mean, pseudoscience. So I don't know where is that part. So I need to.
Krajnje ljudska, pored svega, odnosno uprko svemu, tome što je bio bitanga i to našao u Nemačkoj sam bio i tako sam vidio koja je to ništarija. Međutim, kod mene ipak ta ljudska priča izbila...
He's not talking, he knew, he was friend with Zoran Đinđić. So, that's him. And he's now talking some very bad things because he was also in Germany. I think he met him there because he earned his, Zoran Đinđić earned his PhD in Germany. I mean, this is not really close to the subject, but the whole context here is about murder of Zoran Đinđić, and one of the politicians was involved, but he was not questioned he was not investigated, although this was a major deal up to this day. They said it was temporarily because he was in Hague, but up to this day he was not questioned because he was in Hague at that time. So he was international witness, meaning that he was above, as a witness above state institutions. So I'm creating this video. I maybe forgot to mention that because the state institutions are ignoring my claims, my warnings. That they cannot act anymore because I reported everything to United States Department of Justice. I reported before to Interpol, but that was not really official because it was done by Twitter, although I proved that they reacted. The police did what I asked them to do 24 hours after I contacted Interpol, but now this is more than official. So I'm trying to find here, so this guy who was ex-friend to, I think he figured out who really Zoran Đinđić is, who is a friend with him, and now he's talking some really bad stuff about Zoran Đinđić, and I'll try to find the place where he claimed that Zoran Đinđić was actually a gigolo, so male slut in Germany.
Znaš, nisam ja razmišljao šta ću da mu kažem. Ja sam njemu viknuo ko što budalo poginućeš, razumiješ? Ja sam viknuo za njim, budalo poginućeš. Sa Zoran priča, on je bio samo izvršilac. Kad ti njega vidiš na njihovom terenu, sa tom kurvetinom, što ga vidiš? On je bio...
Okay, he will mention here that Zoran Đinđić was a gigolo and he was informer. Probably police or intelligence informer. He was giving some, according to this guy, he was giving some information about the liberals betraying him, basically, betraying them. So, and he said here, it can be heard here. I mean, gigolo is gigolo in most of European languages. You will hear when I now play this video. When it continues playing, that he will mention gigolo, and after that he will say muška kurva, which means male slut. So this is what Zoran Đinđić was, and nobody wants to talk about that. They're saying, I mean, this guy is more than credible. He published a lot of books. His books are about globalists, most importantly about sport. So global agenda in sport field, and he was one of the best basketball players in the history of Serbian basketball, and probably Yugoslavian basketball. Okay, so I will play this, and we'll need to mute my mic to avoid feedback.
Razumeš, kad ga vidiš, kad znaš sa tom kurvetinom koja je živo, koja, znaš šta, ora da je ne uzme, zato što je plaćala stan, ili te babe koje je jurio bio ostala, pa to je strašno, on je bio muška kurva, on je bio žigolo. Razumeš, tu postoji biografija njegova u Nemačkoj.
So you could hear muška kurva, which means male slut, literally, and then you heard gigolo. And now I will need to show
ja nisam teo, ali mene to...
his Zoran Đinđić's wife, Ružica, which means small rose. So let me remember. So his wife called Ružica, this is diminutive. Meaning small rose, so what's the right?
Diminutive.
Diminutive, okay. By diminish, right. So extremely unusually small. So this is the diminutive of rose. So Ružica means small rose, and that's her. And we will see now where she appeared. So she appeared in naked in this video for the song of one of the most popular singers in former Yugoslavia called Zdravko Čolić, and the song was Malo pojačaj radio, to turn the radio volume a bit more. This is a translation. So if I look it on, this is on YouTube.
Donesi
So let's see, this is third time. Okay, I don't need sound. I'm just trying to find where her part starts. So there she is. She's completely naked. So much about his wife. And of course, people are claiming that she now owns a huge company. I cannot remember what's the name of that company. So she, and as far as I remember, Zoran Đinđić's daughter is now in some so-called political waters, so she's politically active, and they basically are living a good life. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that she was called here is this is an article. Is she is Ružica Đinđić the richest woman in Europe? So this was in 2013. Her name, her surname was Ruška Puška. Puška means gun. So let's see here what this is. Supposedly independent media. It's about, so the testament, the Zoran Đinđić testament is state secret, and yeah, she's the owner of Victoria Group and all those monsters, you know her, those monsters from ER, turning on those, can I say siren? I can, it's the name in Serbia. Turning that sound on their vehicles to scare people, those pieces of shit. Okay, so this is a article especially about Ružica Đinđić. I won't go into details, but I will just try to find this part. Yeah, so this is the part I was looking for. So rich wife I cannot remember. Widow, yeah, I cannot remember because those are really annoying, those monsters from ER, because they are ordered to do that, to scare people, and you just heard another sound of their annoying sound. They're doing that on purpose. So it says here that widow of Zoran Đinđić was, when she was younger, working for intelligence, so intelligence, and she was basically used to seduce some important people. They called her Ruška, This is colloquial. Pushka means gun. Then she started getting rich. And some guy, Dusan Petrovic, I don't know who that guy is, who is playing her husband, probably today, helped her become one of the owners of Victoria Group, and which has monopoly on agriculture and donations from the government, Serbian government. Serbian farmers who are growing blueberries were beaten by gendarmerie. This is part of the police, because Ružica had monopoly to exporting blueberries. Is it the right translation? Well, roseberry. No, roseberry is something else. Anyways. So, red version, let's call it red version of blueberry. Let's see if there is, okay. It's roseberry, so I thought it's something else. Oh yeah, roseberry, strawberry, I was completely... Yeah, it's actually roseberry. I don't know if this is correct. Let's see again. There is no picture, so I'll take it for granted. So again, the police, gendarmerie, beaten Serbian farmers because that criminal Ružica Đinđić has a monopoly on exporting of raspberries, and she is paying them the lowest possible price. There are a lot of other stuff about her, so I encourage you to read this. I think that the translation is pretty good. So Ctrl+C, copy, and Serbian to English. Just paste it here. I'd just like to see how this part will be translated. This part about beating Serbian farmers who are growing strawberries. Serbian raspberries. Yeah, it's not properly translated. Raspberries. Gendarmerie. It should be the lowest price. I mean, it says here low price, but the article is incorrect. It should be the lowest price. Okay, so this part is not correct. Serbian raspberries, so I don't know if they can be translated as people who are growing raspberries. But the point was that Đinđić's wife is basically a criminal. I mean, if you are stealing from farmers, then you're a criminal, not the other way around. I mean, this is probably because I'm from country. I was born and raised in country, so I know how difficult it is to be a farmer. I mean, the farmers which are not using total Roundup and stuff like that. Okay, so I will play this and I will stop at times to comment or to live translate it.
Posle pobune, Bracanović i Ulemek više od godinu dana formalno i faktički kontrolišu službu. Bracanović je smenjen krajem januara 2003. kada je vlada Zorana Đinđića shvatila da poverljivi podaci o pripremi hapšenja Zemunaca cure iz službe.
So this part was about the riot of a special unit called UNIT or Jedinica. So the reason for riot was because some people who they arrested, and it was a major deal. The people two brothers who they arrested were exported to Hague, and they were promised that won't happen. And there were some other things, and this was used. That riot was used as an excuse to arrest people who were commanders of that unit and to blame them for murdering Đinđić, while actually it's a very well proven fact that foreign factors, foreign secret services, service soldier or operatives murdered him, and the fact that it's almost 20 years since he was murdered and no one knows what really happened is that fact alone is enough to prove that foreign factor was actually the one who murdered him. They just used those guys as a scapegoat. Okay, so now there will be a part which mentions Vojislav Šešelj, who is the president of Radical Party. He was also working for intelligence, Comintelligence. He's now working for he's a controlled opposition. He didn't answer any of my emails, and I accused him for really serious crimes, and this is all public on my YouTube, and it's not that he is not answering, it's that he's blocking my mail. So let's hear the part. So this part will be about that guy Šešelj's involvement in Đinđić's murder, and also Slobodan Milosevic's wife Mira, or Mirjana Marković, will be mentioned because she moved to Russia right before Đinđić's murder. Probably she had received a tip that will what will happen, and she feared that she will be arrested. And also 2 weeks before Đinđić was murdered, he was shot from a sniper, allegedly. Nobody knows what really happened. All those things, the autopsy should be public, but it's not. So there are only some speculations. So that guy Šešelj, he voluntarily went to Hague. He was tried there for 9 years, I think. He went voluntarily there 2 weeks before Đinđić's murder, and he was basically publicly threatening him, and this next segment will mention that, will explain that.
Mnoga pitanja nisu...
So there he is. This is that guy, Šešelj,
danas dobila odgovore. Šta je Vojislav Šešelj znao o ubistvu premijera? Ili zašto je Mirjana Marković pobegla iz Srbije odmah posle atentata?
So this is Slobodan Milosevic's wife, Mirjana Marković. As I said, she moved to Moscow, to Russia, right before Đinđić was murdered.
Kod Hale Limes. Ona danas živi u Moskvi gdje je dobila politički azil zajedno sa sinom Markom. Protiv njih se već godinama vodi istraga za šverc cigareta. Markovićeva je označena kao inspirator ubistva Ivana Stambolića. Svedok saradnik na suđenju za ubistvo premijera, Zoran Vukojević, tvrdio je pred sudom da je Marko Milošević posle 5. oktobra nudio novac za ubistvo Zorana Đinđića.
Ova tvrdnja nikada nije ispitana.
So not just, I mean, the government at that time, Democratic Party, was basically major part of the government when Đinđić was murdered. So they are trying to blame all the other people except foreign factors, which was actually the execution of Zoran Đinđić, because he started suddenly started being a patriot. He started fighting over Kosovo because there are some rumors when he went to United States. I think it was a week or something like that before he was murdered. He was ordered to do some things, probably to let other people come into power, and he, being someone who has a very high opinion about himself, didn't want to do that, and he needed to be removed. And I won't go into details why this is important to change after like 5 or 6 years to change people on the political scene. I will explain that in another video. So again, this is Slobodan Milosevic's wife, and that guy next to her was Slobodan Milosevic's son. So these people who created this documentary claim that she also was involved in, actually her son, Slobodan, and of course Milosevic's son, was the one who wanted Đinđić dead, which is rubbish. He didn't have anything to do with that. I mean, they knew really well that Milosevic was arrested because the foreign factor wanted that, and Milosevic in the beginning was a United States asset. He was working for, I think, 20 years in the United States as a banker. Actually, staff of the bank. Okay, so let's continue.
Niti je poznato zašto je Mirjana Marković, baš uoči ubistva premijera, odlučila da pobegne iz zemlje. Uloga Vojislava Šešelja u ubistvu premijera ispitivana je tokom Sablje. Vojislav Šešelj otišao je dobrovoljno u Hag 24. februara 2003. godine, 2 nedelje pred ubistvo premijera Zorana Đinđića. Na mitingu pred odlazak u Hag, Šešelj je najavio krvavo proleće u Srbiji.
Ološ će morati na dno duboke i mutne reke Frankfurt. Njegov Bagzi na Đinđića naleteo kamionom. Pa misli Zoran Đinđić da može 12 godina da intenzivno posluje sa mafijom, da učestvuje u svim mafijaškim delatnostima, a sad po nalogu Amerikanaca tako jednostavno da otpiše mafiju. Ne može. Zoran Đinđić mora da podeli sudbinu sa svojim mafijašima, sa svojim surčincima, sa svojim Bagzijem.
Ako neko od vas u idućih mesec ili 2 vidi negde Zorana Đinđića, recite mu da je i Tito pred smrt imao problema sa nogom.
Vojislav Šešelj je...
So these are basically public meetings to support this guy Šešelj. Those people were activists of his party, and he indirectly threatened Đinđić. He said that he will need to, because now allegedly United States asked Đinđić to clean up the scene, meaning that he needed to arrest or murder all those people from with criminal background, those criminals who were supposedly was working with him. And this guy said in that speech that it cannot be easily done and he will need to share the same destiny with them, basically predicting that he will be murdered. And the other guy is former president of Serbia, Tomislav Nikolic. He said similar thing, that he will be murdered. Both of them predicted. That was like 2 weeks before Đinđić was murdered. So those journalists from Insider are just presenting some facts which with no real evidence, pieces of evidence, just to hide their involvement of their masters from Western and Western European embassies and governments who are directly controlling them. So let's. So this is Šešelj in Hague. So let's hear the rest of it.
Dao iskaz pred istražnim sudijom i tužiocem u pritvoru Haškog tribunala.
Ja sam bio u toku, znao sam da se sprema vrlo krvav obračun. Nisam znao da će biti ubicija, pogotovo zbog namere da se u Hagu budu izručeni Jovica Stanišić i još neki na Hagu. Likvidirani Legija i Frenki, jer se Đinđić plašio njihovog izručenja Hagu.
So this is Šešelj's statement in Hague about Đinđić's murder during the investigation. So Serbian prosecution asked Hague to allow them to go there and to ask for the statement, and they did it. They allowed that, and this is the statement. Basically, he said that he didn't know that Đinđić will be murdered, but he knew that there will be blood. And the main trigger for that was dismantling that unit for special operations because the foreign factor from the outside wanted them dismantled. And then he predicted that Jovica Stanišić, the guy who was at the top of Secret Service during Milosevic era, will be deported to Hague, which happened, and that this guy was his associate. He's also, I think that they, two of them were recently convicted in Hague. So this guy Franko Simatovic was the closest associate of this guy. So the second guy of Serbian, that is Yugoslav Secret Service during Milosevic era. So, and the main reason is because Đinđić was afraid of their deportation to Hague, supposedly. I mean, this is really stupid. Doesn't have any sort of evidence, real evidence. And let's continue.
U zahtevu za sprovođenje istrage protiv Vojislava Šešelja, specijalni tužilac je naveo:
Osumnjičeni Šešelj više puta u svojoj kući, koji su novčano javnim istupima da objašnjava status njihove organizacije Limes, a za uzvrat im je obećao punu podršku u skidanju izdajničke vlasti, pa je u nekoliko navrata tražio od njih da ubiju izdajnika Đinđića, što je ponovio i pred odlazak u Hag, kada im je rekao: ubijte Đinđića za mene, čime je sa umišljajem podstrekavao osumnjičenog Lukovića na izvršenje krivičnog dela ubistva predstavnika najviših državnih organa, a čime bi se ugrozio.
So this is the part of the request of special investigator or special special prosecutor for Đinđić's arrest. So he said that he presented some fake evidence that this guy Šešelj is involved. He was organizing Đinđić's murder, which is not true. And the last part is when he said that Đinđić is that Šešelj cannot be trialed in Serbia because he's in Hague.
Bezbednost i ustavni poredak.
Premijera nije ni mogao otići dalje od istrage. Postupak protiv Šešelja u vezi sa ubistvom premijera nije ni mogao otići dalje od istrage, jer ga je štitio zakon o saradnji sa Hagom, koji predviđa da se postupak pred domaćim sudom mora prekinuti do okončanja postupka pred Međunarodnim krivičnim tribunalom.
So this was the most important part, where it says that Šešelj could not be on trial because he was on trial in Hague, and he can go to trial in Serbia after he's finished in Hague, but this didn't happen, probably because to this day, probably because he has some sort of protection by court in Hague. So these were the two examples why state international institutions are way above state institutions, and this video is primarily for prosecutors and judges of Serbia, which are ignoring that fact, and they're acting, although I reported everything to international institutions. Sorry. I guess that would be all.